want to become wealthy in life, you have to invest for a period of time. I understand it's brutal. I've been punished badly for the markets for the last year, but that's nature of the market. People who try to make quick money in the market sometimes get away with it, sometimes do get punished. But if you're a young person, you're 25, 30, just out of college, this is a great time to buy equity because you will be a seller 15, 20 years down the road, not right now. So my suggestion to all of you, especially the younger set, is this is a great time as any. India is available on a sale, and you always want to load up when things are cheap. So I would suggest it's a good time to go ahead and look at a broad basket of equities with you.
What's resulted in this kind of apathy, Ramesh? I mean, just looking at some of the statistics, household ownership of stocks is probably at an all-time low. I mean, is it that people have lost money and therefore they've lost interest? Because we've seen bad markets in the past, but this kind of apathy probably we haven't seen in a long while.
Right. It's a grinding bear market. I think there are two reasons, Udian. First, of course, fixed income offers you 9%, 10% risk-free, which is very, very high. I mean, there's an enormous temptation to put it into fixed income, without the understanding, of course, that inflation at 12% will eat into your fixed income over periods of time. So it's not necessarily the best thing to do. And particularly, I think the IPO market has been a disaster in India. I mean, other than coal India, which really did well, stocks go down, are so volatile. I think someone is not watching the IPO screen properly and is punishing people who are, subscribing to IPOs. Typically, whenever a bull market starts in India, it starts when people make money into an IPO, and then they come into the secondary market once they book the gains into the IPO market. If you remember the 2003 bull market that started, I think Bank of Punjab was being offered a PE ratio of 1, and people who bought it today are still making 30 times their money. So I think that we really need to correct this IPO imbalance, and my suggestion has been that government is coming up with an IPO for Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which is going to be a great blue chip issue coming out. I mean, they should market that to the retail investors. I mean, this is a great company of India, going to be available. If they price it properly, I think it will renew interest and perhaps bring people back into the stocks again.
You're disappointed with the way this whole government divestment plan has worked out so far over the last 1 year, and now they're thinking of keeping retail out altogether. I mean, just do it between the public sector companies.
Yeah, that of course is one part, but I hope Hindustan Aeronautics is actually divested to the public and not us. It has been a disaster. There is no political consensus yet in India. There was for a brief period of time, but it seems to be slipping again and again. I am disappointed, but I hope at least the new issues, again, like Hindustan Aeronautics, which is actually something I'm looking forward to, it can re-galvanize the market if it's priced properly, should bring retail investors back. I think Coal India started the process, and then you had a couple of bad issues like manganese ore and all coming back. But I'm hoping that the government realizes that they need to get retail investors back, to get demat accounts going again, and perhaps a good way to do it is through Hindustan Aeronautics.
Has some of the sheen of the Coal India feel good come off, because the stock has corrected significantly for people who have held on post IPO?
Yeah, it has, and I'm one of them. It has come off. There has been what we like to call a political paralysis in Delhi. So people really don't understand. As we were talking this morning, will Walmart be able to open in West Bengal, or are they going to be shut out of parts of this country? This is the way. I'm hopeful in this sense. Let me explain this point of view why I'm hopeful about India. That if you go back and see the last 4 state elections that have taken place, whether it was in West Bengal, whether it was in Bihar, or New Delhi, or in Gujarat, all the people who are considered pro-reform and pro-getting the economy moving again were re-elected with astounding majorities. In Patna itself, Nitish Kumar, Sheila Dikshit, Narendra Modi, and Mamta throughout, after 40 years of misrule in Calcutta, in West Bengal, she came into White House building. So, India is a democracy, and it takes time to work, but it works. So ultimately, if the government believes, if the people believe that the government is not acting, there's a general election coming up 2 years down the road, and the same BJP that is saying, we don't want FD on retail, will be forcing it down us. So, democracy works in India, so it's a matter of time. The public decide that they're fairly wise, they'll throw out the old government and bring in a new government.
Your point about being bullish about India is absolutely fair, Ramesh, but we've been speaking of late to a lot of the old India hands, the global guys, and some of them seem a bit disillusioned, saying, we thought India is something else, and the way your politicians have behaved, maybe you're taking India back to a 6% economy, which relatively is still great, but is not what we bought into the story with the idea of.
Well, see, the trouble with them is that they also look at the stock market index and form their opinions based on that, you know. Here's the case. If you go back and study, and I haven't done a formal study, but anecdotally at least, whenever the Indian rupee has depreciated, whether it was in 92 or whether it was in the other times, and we've depreciated almost 15-18% in a straight line, if you will, it has been followed by a sharp rally. And this time you're down almost 40% in dollar terms. If you'd invested last Diwali in dollar terms in India, you're down 40%, 20% on the index and 20% on the currency. Typically so equities become 40% cheaper for the fund manager sitting in New York. So my sense is that it's a matter of time. You know, we can't say what is going to be the parameter that pushes the needle. But at some point, Indian equities are already 40% cheaper, maybe for another 5%. So maybe beginning January, we should see a rally take place, because the depreciating rupee is always good for fresh investors coming in, because everything is so much cheaper. Of course, the guys who are caught right now are, you know, really having a hard time, and that's why we're seeing some selling towards the end of December, and it might continue for the next few weeks, because typically the underperforming stocks are cleaned out of the portfolio by the end of December. But I think beginning January, when new allocations come in and new looks are taken in the portfolio, someone sitting overseas is going to say Indian equities are 40% cheaper, maybe I should take a look at it, and I think that's what will happen.
What's the smart safe thinking now, Ramesh? I mean, when you talk to your friends in the industry who've been around, I mean, investing for a long time, Rakesh, etc., the friends you have, are they also sulking, or are their chins pointing down, or are they also with your kind of mind frame that this is the time to go out and buy stocks aggressively?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll go ahead of Rakesh also. The smartest set of investor I know is Warren Buffett, okay? And I'm stunned that he's sitting there in an economy that we'd all written off, the United States of America, and he bought what, $20-25 billion worth of equity in the last quarter, including $10 billion for a company called IBM, which has been listed for 100 years, and he bought it at its lifetime high. So, you know, if a smart investors like that seeing value in something like IBM, which is listed 100 years, okay, we should pay attention. You know, our technology companies share some of the same characteristics that IBM has. It's a very sticky business. With the rupee at 52, the whole business model looks so much more attractive. So, you know, technology is a good place to start with, that people would come back into. Among the smarter set, yes, there is, as you said, in India itself, there is a lot of considerateness, a lot of being upset. But I think they understand, I think we should all understand what is the market doing this time. And markets are meant to do this always. The markets punish over time companies that don't use capital properly. So if you have excessive debt, you have raised FCCB issues, you've diluted the company, market has been punishing you. And as Mitali pointed out, I mean, Hindustan Lever is not getting punished. It's like 2% from its lifetime high. It has already crossed its lifetime high. It's 2% from its all-time high of 400 or so. The Hero Honda, for example, Cipla, for example, Nestle, for example, what do these companies have in common? They have no debt, no dilution, and free cash flow, which is what the market always respects. Now, it goes periodically through a flavor of the month analysis where it respects growth or respects some other characteristic. But markets, typically, the long-term winners in the stock market are always companies that respect their capital and do free cash flow. So my sense is keep looking for those companies. I mean, that's the way to